workshop, I'm sorry, I would like to call this city council workshop to order for Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. Public input, citizens may address the council regarding any item of the city business that is not on tonight's agenda. The duration of the individual speaking under the public input is limited to 3 minutes. While all comments are welcome, the council will not take action on any item not on the agenda. Because of the rules that govern public meetings, council is not permitted to speak in response to any issue raised that is a non-agenda item. I'm going to skip down through here. So do we have anybody in public that would like to speak tonight? Come up to the podium and identify yourself. All right. Guess we'll move on then. General items. Don't have any there. Executive review. The mayor's resolution, Beartooth RC&D MOU. I understand Myrna Lestusky is here to speak on that. If you will go ahead and come up to the podium and address the council.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Oh, wow. I feel powerful. Thank you, Mayor Wagner and City Council members. I'm Myrna Lestusky. I'm project manager at Beartooth RC&D. And with me tonight is our fairly new Food and Ag Development Center Director, Brad Ike. You may remember Joel Bertolino from the past, and Joel decided to move on to greener pastures this summer. And we've just been thrilled with Brad's work. He's been really contacting a lot of clients, and I'll let him, how much time do we have, by the way?
What's that?
How much time? Like, I'm assuming you'd like us to take
3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of hold it to that.
You have all time.
For each of you, not the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Oh, no, okay, we won't be,
Okay.
yeah, but we'll be quick. And I'm gonna let Brad come up real quickly and just tell you a little bit about the food and ag work he's been doing in the last few months. And then later on, I'll have Nan Knight, our finance director and brownfields coordinator, just say a few words as well. So, Brad.
Hi, thanks for having me. I've been working with a lot of producer clients rather in Yellowstone County. Stone Soup Kitchen applied for a BAM business acceleration and marketing grant, which they were accepted. Ruben Stahl is in the middle of applying for a VAPG program grant to, he's going to start a whole nother side business on what he's got going. So that would be a huge jump up for him. And Cara Ronan from Rhodey Farms also applied for an agritourism grant that would really drive her business into the next level if she would get accepted, and that would help her gain a vehicle that she could start transporting flowers and some other local businesses. She would help move some of their product to the Bozeman area and open up new markets and stuff for them. So that's just some of the stuff I've been working with. I just started in August, so I'm sure we'll see more of each other. And if anybody ever needs anything, be sure to give us a call there at Beartooth, and we'll see what we can do. So thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah, so the Stone Soup Kitchen got a $15,000 grant. And another thing, did you get these in your packets? Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to mention a couple things on there. At the very bottom, number 2, it says Rural Energy for America program, the REAP program. Beartooth recently hired a new employee who's, most of her job is serving Eastern Montana, including the Beartooth region, on the REAP program. And this, in a nutshell, is, for small businesses and ag producers who need to make energy efficiency upgrades or put in solar, solar pumps or pivots and things that will help them with their farm or ranch or their small business. She'll help with the application and getting all the details together. And then if they are approved, they would get 25% of the cost of that project back. So we really want to, we were talking to Jody about maybe doing some outreach to the Small Business Alliance and some other places in Laurel as well. So you can see, I won't go over everything on here because you can read, but we do have 5 loans in Laurel currently. And if you have questions on any of them, Nan is our finance manager and she can help you. But one thing that we don't have on here is that 2 Laurel loans were closed out this year. So paid off. They were ones that I think started in or before 2020. So that was good news. And I am going to let Nan also tell you a little bit about the site selector tool, which is on the other side. And that's something that our economic development director, Gaurav, has been working on for several months, and we're really excited to unveil that. Small detail, we're just still finding all the money that we need for that, but you know, we'll get there. We're gonna apply for a grant in January, and if that doesn't work, we've got some other ideas. And then the last thing we included is this FADC network handout, just showing you the impact that FADCs have across Montana. And we are one of the 11 centers. And they serve, as Brad was just mentioning, not just ag producers, but small businesses who deal with food. The reach is really great, put on a lot of trainings. And so we just encourage you, you know, to keep learning more about what Beartooth offers, because we do have a lot of resources for all sorts of businesses and ag producers in your county, and nonprofits and other organizations as well. So Nan, I don't know, do you want to tell them just a quick bit about the Brownfields program and maybe if they have questions on the site selector tool? Thanks.
Hi, guys. Question real quick. Do any of you have any questions actually how the revolving loan works with Beartooth RC&D? Do any of you know how the revolving loan program works with Beartooth RC&D? So in a snapshot real quick, how Beartooth operates its revolving loan is a couple different ways. Some businesses can come to us because any more banks want 25, 30% down in order to buy property or whatever the case may be. So Beartooth can come in and be that 30% down, that 25% down, whatever percentage a bank wants. So a lot of times we partner with a bank. And we aren't high risk lending or anything. We match those banks' loan terms and interest rates because we're here to do economic development within the region that we serve. Or if you are a new business, or a lot of times banks look at if you're buying a business from, let's say, Jody, they're going to look at you, if you've never done that type of work, a new business, even though it's an established business. Well, then now I can come in and look at you because I'm not a traditional bank and go after the historic information and be able to give you that loan. So then you can take over and now be a business owner yourself. So there's a lot of different ways that Beartooth can assist with that financial. So that's just a little bit about the revolving loan. And as Myrna had mentioned, you know, this revolving loan has been going on. We have multiple different pots of funds, but we have 2 that did just complete their loans with us and paid them off this year, well, within the last 12 months. So that's pretty great. So right now we do, like Myrna said, we have 5 that are still active here in Laurel, the city of Laurel. Also, the other side of Beartooth that I do is we have what's called the Brownfields program. I know last time that we were here last year, we talked about the assessment dollars. Beartooth did apply and we were able to get a revolving loan fund, which is really cool. I do work a lot with Daniel Klein. So one thing, one site for an example that I'm going to pick on tonight is the middle school. The middle school now is up for sale. So that has contamination in it. We know that asbestos is a thing. Well, banks won't lend or give a loan to a building that has asbestos because of the contamination. Well, our funding can come in and clean that up and payments can get deferred until redevelopment. And even at that, those are only 1 or 2% interest. So it's not like it's a lot. So there is that also kind of assistance out there that is for businesses. As some people say, Beartooth is the best kept secret. And that we, and so we kind of rely on our stakeholders to also help their communities know more about Beartooth. Another thing that Myrna said real quick, I'm sorry to take up all of your time, is the site selector tool. As she mentioned, we are applying for some funding. This site selector tool, Longview, Texas is a good example of this. Montana Business Attraction keeps coming out with all of these, hey, we need this information. We have this business that wants to come into Montana, but we need a 50,000 square foot building, or we need raw land of this amount. And then we're like, oh, shoot. Well, okay, you want this by Friday? Well, it's Wednesday. So this will be a website that we can work with our local realtors, our local property management companies, whatever it may be, to get all the information on one database. It's GIS tracking. So then it will be able to tell us how far away it is from rail, how far away it is from the airport, what the infrastructure is of that piece of property. And then if a site selector is interested in that, then, oh, it's a raw piece of land on 20 acres. Man, now we can put our 10,000 square foot building model on it and see what it would look like. So that's something that we are really super excited about. So hopefully that'll be something that we'll be able to launch here in the next few months. So does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. In the past, up to about a year ago, we used to receive a newsletter or some kind of an update on what you guys were doing. And I have not received that in a long time, but you used to get something on a computer every once in a while about the businesses that you guys were supporting
And that's something that I can do. So for me, it's confidentiality has also become a thing. I know that it's federal tax dollars, but they do sign pieces of paper that is non-disclosures and confidentiality. And so I'm happy to so then it's kind of a gray area where it's how much information do we share, especially when it comes to like the revolving loans. If it's food and ag, or if it's anything like that, that is 100% grants. But especially if like you can't walk into a bank, right? And be like, hey, so like, how much money are you lending out to the businesses in the community? So I'm kind of like scared, or not scared, but it's kind of like that line anymore of what are we allowed to share publicly with, I mean, you're welcome to come in and be like, hey, like, can I see, your books? But so that is something that I'm trying to work on. What information am I allowed to share? I think I'm allowed to share the business names or success stories, just not the like amount of money that I've assisted with.
Councilmember Closer, you have follow.
Thank you. And the information that was given out didn't have how much the loans were or any of that. It was just who you guys, the names of the people that you guys were supporting and some of that activity.
Yeah, can I? So I've been with Beartooth for 5 years and so this must have been quite a long time ago that you were getting these. We do give you, so we've given you a whole project list in the past when we do our annual review with you. And maybe that's what you're thinking about. I did send something out in June that just kind of recapped some of Beartooth's work in the area. So I'm not sure if that got passed on to everybody. So I don't know if those are things, but I'm so glad you asked this because it's one of the things we've been talking about. We would like to try to send out maybe quarterly And if the council members would like us to come in, we're happy to come in occasionally throughout the year. But maybe a quarterly, I wouldn't even call it a newsletter, but just a few bullet points. You're busy people, you don't need a whole, but a few bullet points like, this is some of the good stuff that's been happening. And that would be a great opportunity for you all to say, hey, we've got this going on the West End. Is there anything Beartooth can do to help us with that? And that's, like Nan said, how we really rely on you, whoever is our board rep for Laurel, we do rely on them to come to the board meetings regularly and tell us, this is what's going on in Laurel, and this is what we really could use help with, because, we are very active in certain communities, counties, because they come to us all the time, hey, we got this going on. Is there anything you guys can do to help? But we're still kind of waiting for a little more of that. And we've been trying, we've been coming to LURA meetings. We've gone to Small Business Alliance meetings a few times, but it's definitely a two-way street too, where we need you guys to say, hey, this is where we need help. Does that make sense? Okay, great.
Councilmember McKay.
Thank you. In last week's packet, we did have the correspondence from Beartooth RC&D, and there's meeting minutes from their September 18th meeting that gives a lot of that information of how many revolving loan funds there are out there and that kind of stuff. So that information has been in our packets. Some of it, I don't know if there was something more specific, but we did have that stuff.
But if there is something that you would like, we're happy to tailor anything, just whatever it may be. I've been here 4 years, and what my predecessor or what Beartooth might have done in the past, sometimes, it just revolves over time. And anymore, like we used to do more of a lengthier thing that we had given you guys, but it seems like anymore, we're just so busy that sometimes just a snapshot is easier and something that's easier to digest than a 5-page thing. So it's kind of,
I mean, we know that you're all of much higher intellectual ability, but we hear that the attention span these days is really plummeting. So we tried to give you the one pager. Any other questions? Yes. Can apply?
for what exactly?
Revolving loan.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah. So when it comes to the revolving loan, any businesses can apply as long as they are listed with the Secretary of State. Except for caveat, when it comes to the ag side of things, they do have to at least be in the value chain portion of it. They just can't be like for themselves as a rancher.
Okay.
Yeah, Brad mentioned the VAPG, that's a value added producer grant, where they're adding value to something. They're not just, I don't know, what would be an example, like harvesting grain and shipping it off. Yeah, where they're doing something with the product.
You're adding value to an ag product to another level. It doesn't work for just production agriculture, like selling your calves or guys that just do that. It's for the other, which, I've been on the production side of agriculture my whole life, but there's the whole other faucet of the value added sector. So,
Okay.
yeah.
He doesn't look like a rancher, does he?
But when it comes, but to your point, yes, we're constantly, since Brad has been here, how many applications do you think you've submitted in?
Probably 20 plus applications.
So I mean, in our 5-county region, right, he's submitted in 20 applications. So even if that's a big impact since August, since he's been here, on small or big, that he has helped at least in our community and put in on a couple of the trainings that does food safety and stuff like that. So he is doing a big, so yes, a newsletter is probably something that at least maybe we should do at least a couple times a year to at least show those impact markers. Any other questions? I'm sorry.
Anybody else have a question for the council?
Thanks.
The last thing I just we have a little gift for you. For the past 5 years, it was a EDA CARES Act grant that Beartooth had applied for. And with part of that, we had begun some work with the Bozeman Trail which goes through all 5 of our counties, including Yellowstone, and worked with partners both in Wyoming and around the state. And part of those efforts has just recently resulted in this book on the Bozeman Trail. It has actually a driving tour and the most accurate maps that they've ever had of the Bozeman Trail. It's really a neat thing. I'd be happy to talk with any of you about it sometime. And now there's a website up too as well. We've been working with Our Montana out of Billings, Ralph Saunders, if some of you know him, just some really great people. So this is for the council to have, for the city to have. And I also do have copies of the MOU signed by our chairman. Should I leave those with you? Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sorry we took so much.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the finance resolution, budget amendment. I'll turn it over to Kelly, our treasurer.
So we can do budget amendments throughout the year. And since we had a couple of large ones that we need to add to due to unexpected appropriations that have come up, we have decided to put this forward to you a little earlier than normal. Budget amendments are just changes in the budget that we passed back in September. The first one is for the bid that you guys accepted to purchase the new ambulance. And then recently, the fire chief came to me and said, hey, we were awarded a grant with it for $30,000 with the city of Laurel being, they would give us $10,000 per year for the next 3 years. So back in, I believe it was 2016, CHS awarded the city the same kind of grant that they're awarding the fire department this year, but was over a 5-year period to purchase extrication equipment for their fire department. And so what we are wanting to do, or what the fire department is asking, is that if the city of Laurel or you guys are okay with getting the $10,000 each year, but allowing them to purchase the extrication gear right away, and then reimbursing the general fund for, they're kind of borrowing money from the general fund so that they don't have to wait 3 years, save the money for 3 years, and then purchase the extrication gear. Am I correct, JW? I'll let you speak kind of a little bit on what you're wanting to do. I wanted to give them kind of a rundown of what we're doing here tonight.
Perfect, thank you. Good evening, council. So like Kelly had said, CHS, I guess it's been almost 10 years ago, donated the 50,000 to us. We bought a set of gear then, and this is all battery operated gear. And we want to buy a second set. So we have 2 sets. This weekend, while we were on one of the car accidents, one of those tools went down. So it's kind of at the right time. It can be fixed. The computer motherboard went out of it and just needs to have a new one put in it. So in 10 years, they've cut a lot of pieces of metal. So we want to update it with a new set. What we would do is we'd take the set that we currently have, and that would be our backup set. And then the new set would go in as the primary set of gear. It comes with $32,000. So CHS gave us 30,000. It's 32,000, I think, and some change. And then we would just take the additional 2,000 out of our budget that we've already been awarded for the year. And that way we'd be able to, because it takes anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks to get it. So I talked to the guy that is going to work on it. And the cool thing about this gear is, like this set that, excuse me, that they're going to come and work on, it's got a forever warranty on it. So this stuff for them to come in and replace this motherboard doesn't cost us anything. The only time it costs us is every 5 to 6 years we have to service it. They have to drain all the oil and stuff out of it and service them. We have to pay for that. But any warranty work, it's done free of charge. So that's what we're asking, is to be able to purchase it now. And then over the next 2 years, we'll just Kelly will just get that money and put it back in. So, any questions?
Okay, so with that being said, these are capital purchases. So we set the capital budget back in September, that was passed. And so what we are doing is when any of these purchases are being made, kind of like the ambulance or the fire department, they are borrowing money from the reserves of the general fund. And so we need to increase the appropriations of our transfer account, that we would be transferring that money into the capital account for the purchase of the new ambulance. And that was made through, we transferred the money that was made through donations, and then also what would have been needed to finish paying off the rest of the ambulance. And then also the $20,000 more, because he's already received 10 of it, like we already have the check for 10, increase those appropriations so that he can purchase that. And then once the next year, the $10,000 come in, or the donations, the money that we've got for the ambulance, all of that will be reimbursed back into the general fund reserves. So we have, that's what the first transfer would be, is from the general fund into the capital. And then we needed to, because we did not set any kind of appropriation for purchasing an ambulance, because that kind of came up at the last second, we just need to increase those appropriations to be able to write the check to pay for the ambulance in full. And then same thing with the fire department. We only budgeted in their capital fund the payments that were going to be the payment that was needed for the new fire truck that they purchased. So we need to increase their appropriation by $30,000, which then allows them to purchase the extrication gear. And then we needed to just increase the revenues that we're taking in from the general fund into the capital reserves, is what those 4 transactions will be.
Any questions from the council? Very good. Thank you, Kelly. Moving on. Any council issues? Councilmember McKay.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask, we all obviously saw some big news regarding the state mentioning the mental health facility here, and I was wondering if our CAO or our attorney had a statement on that at all.
I will start it out if I can. So what has been reported in the press is, I believe, is a misstatement that the city of Laurel is interested in that. It was the state's decision to make a statement that they would like to select the Laurel area. And in discussions about what the ramifications are for that, I did send a letter to the state after I had briefed the council about it, I think a couple weeks ago. I had briefed the council that we weren't going to be putting in for that program because it wasn't within our jurisdiction. And I had talked at length about that night. The letter indicated exactly that. We have resolutions of annexation. We also have zoning laws. And with those laws, you have to comply with the public notice, public comment periods that go along with those laws. So the letter to the state was that we hadn't put in for it, for a nomination for it, but that we had these laws in place that the city council must follow. With that, the press has probably been reaching out. There's been people reaching out to the council. I would caution, and I had a conversation with our city attorney via email today about what that looks like for this council. And she has reminded you that when you are dealing with zoning issues or annexations issues, that we have to be like a jury, you're a jurist. And so she has reminded the council that ex parte communications in something like that, we can't entertain. If you have something coming forward in front of the council, we would put that in front of the council So we have never received an annexation application. We have never received a zoning or rezoning application. We have nothing to present the council at this time. So therefore, it was my advice to brief the council tonight, if it was asked, that the city attorney brief the council again and remind the city council again on those roles and responsibilities of the council and of the mayor. He has been briefed on those as well, that if there was a tie vote, he would have to vote. So with that, if I may.
Yes, continue.
Is Michelle, are you online?
I am, Kurt. Thank you. And I'm happy to follow up on this as well. I became aware over the last several days, as well as did Kurt and the mayor, that there have been reach out from citizens in the community regarding this matter. I'm aware that city council members have been contacted directly. My office has been, and I believe city administration has been as well. The important thing that I want to reiterate here, I want to reiterate two different things from the standpoint of the legal issues involved. There is absolutely nothing wrong with constituents reaching out to their ward city council members, nor is there anything wrong with constituents reaching out to city administration or the city attorney's office for potential feedback on issues. So I don't in any way want to suggest that the public's interest in this matter is misplaced. There has obviously been a lot of press traction on this particular issue, and I think, as Kurt accurately noted, some of it has not necessarily been fully fleshed out or has necessarily been accurate in nature. I think Kurt clarified what the city has done to date from an administration standpoint. Receipt of those communications are important for city council to provide to my office or to city administration, directly to Kurt or the mayor or my office, so that we can preserve those communications and ensure that if we are in a setting where there are land use disputes in relationship to this particular project, we can respond appropriately to FOIA or public records requests. So I appreciate council passing on that information. It is not, and I say this with complete respect to your decision-making role, it is not appropriate to respond to the public at this time as council members on these issues, because, as Kurt noted appropriately, and as we've discussed in previous land use matters, there is nothing before council right now. I think some of our council members who have been on city council for a number of years are acutely aware of the issues that can arise when city council members speak out about their opinions of a particular project, but that project has not been presented to the city, nor has gone through any of the uniform channels that are required to go through here. So, as Kurt mentioned, depending upon what happens on this particular matter, there may be and likely will be both annexation and zoning issues that will have to be presented to the city through the proper channels. That will include presentation to our city county planning, our joint city county planning board, will require recommendations from city staff, will require recommendations from my office as the city attorney. And then ultimately, once that goes through the public hearing process, will be presented to city council for determination. And as I said, it may be twofold types of issues that are presented. But presupposing outcomes or speaking opinions about those issues at this stage, when nothing has been formally presented to the city, creates a lot of risk. And it also creates a lot of possibility for misinformation and misunderstanding within the public. So I encourage council to continue to share communications you've received so we can preserve an accurate record. So if at any point this issue does come through the proper channels, we have all of the documentation together, and reserve any sort of opinions or certainly any outcomes of what might happen here until that point. And I suspect we're quite a ways away from that. I think Kurt might be able to speak to that just from his experience from a planning standpoint, but we're many months away from those issues even being routed through the proper channels. And so while I absolutely appreciate that council is presented with these things when they hit the press, and here again, as I said, the public has every right to give feedback, but that feedback at this point right now, as far as any sort of action item, is very premature from the city standpoint. And I'm happy to answer any questions on the legality of things involved. As Kurt mentioned, Kurt used the colloquial term, but it's very much accurate. And I've said this when we've talked about land use issues in front of council before. You function as a quasi-judicial body. So no different than it would be improper for a judge to presuppose an outcome when they have an idea that a case is coming in front of them, or it might be in an early filing stage. It is improper from a legal standpoint for council to give any sort of feedback. And for that matter, really for any city staff or anyone to give feedback until we actually know what are the issues that are going to be presented from a legal standpoint.
Thank you.
Did that, Councilmember McKay, did that answer your questions as it relates at least to the legal components and kind of the process ahead?
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember
Okay.
Mize?
Thank you. Attorney Brockman, when you speak about FOIA and keeping track of what people are saying to us, do you need us to be writing things down, or just when we come to council relaying a constituent had this or that concern?
It is absolutely appropriate if you can recall any ex parte communications that you've received to simply disclose that when we are at a public meeting. That's the purpose of ex parte communications. In my work with city council members, for many years, I often do find that city council members will kind of keep notes because obviously constituents reach out to you, not just through email communications, but will reach out through phone calls or potentially text messages. All of that is discoverable in any sort of, and I use the term FOIA request. That's not actually the accurate characterization. It's public records request under Montana, but as lawyers, we kind of lump in those two things often together when we use the acronyms involved. You are welcome to keep notes. Those are not disclosable, but if it helps to jog your memory when you're needing to make an ex parte disclosure, if you receive written disclosures, what typically I do through my office is have those forwarded directly to me. We maintain files within the city, or if you want to forward those to Kurt or the mayor, they always get those to myself and appropriate city staff so that we keep a file. That makes it a lot easier for us when we receive public records requests, and many times in more controversial issues involved, we receive those routinely. We handle those, we handle those through my office on a regular basis. It makes the gathering of that information easier, but you're certainly welcome to keep your own internal notes, just like you do for any city council matters. The appropriate nature is the disclosure of the fact that a constituent reached out to you and the topic of that reach out, so that is contained within the public record when we have to disclose the materials we need to.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney Bachman. I would at this point like to share that I received the same call that Councilmember McKay received from Myrna.
Mara Silver, I think was her name.
Silvers, yeah. Mara Silvers. I have not responded and probably will not respond because of all of the things that you just said. And I remembered from past council meetings that we've discussed these kinds of things. And in my mind, I'm not going to respond because I don't know anything. Thank you.
And I would note, thank you, Vice President Wilkie, for noting that. I want to say for the public record, and I think that as Kurt mentioned, he and I have discussed these matters just because we'd realized that they had gotten a lot of press traction over the last several days since the state made a statement. And I think Kurt is, and Kurt, certainly you're welcome to disagree with me if you don't share the same opinion. What the state does, that is a separate governmental entity. The statements that they issue, we have no control over. We did not give feedback about from any of my understanding. I do recognize that has created perceptions that exist from the public standpoint about the city's involvement to date. And I think hopefully some of these comments that both Kurt and I have provided has corrected some of that. I encourage the public that is listening to this meeting or may go back and listen to it to understand that the lack of response from city council members does not suggest a lack of care. And that is often misinterpreted in the public realm when we're dealing with elected official positions, that when constituents reach out to their council members and express concerns about a particular matter, and it's absolutely appropriate for you to respond and say, I acknowledge receipt of your communications. Thank you for expressing your opinion, and close with something like that. What is often misinterpreted by constituents in those types of settings is that means that council members do not care about the concerns being expressed to them, nor will ultimately formulate, if and when a matter is presented to them, an informed decision and an informed opinion on things. And I recognize, and I've done this work long enough to recognize that confusion exists for our public, because that's how constituents perceive many times a lack of response. And so when I speak on these issues from a legal matter, it's not just to advise city council members about how to appropriately handle things from a legal standpoint. It's also to help educate our public that a lack of response does not mean a lack of care. And it certainly does not mean a lack of analysis and insight once an issue has been presented. But if I could use the term of sometimes the cart goes before the horse in these situations, I think this is a precise example of that. And it often happens. Laurel is not unique to something like this. It happens when we're talking about public governance, that many issues come out in the press long before they're at the formal stage of actual decision-making by a public entity. And so I encourage our public to recognize our council members, I absolutely believe, care very deeply about making wise and informed decisions. But at this stage of things, there is nothing for our city county planning board to consider, city staff to consider, nor city council to consider. And it would be improper to formulate any sort of opinions or express any sort of opinions about those issues until a comprehensive and full legal process has played through the way that it's intended to. And as I said, if the state does continue to go through with what it is expressing its intentions are, there will come a point that will occur. And it's important for the public to trust that our city governance, our city council members, our city staff, our mayor, myself, the city attorney, are looking at what is presented in an objective and legal manner versus based upon innuendo or suggestion that may have occurred.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kurt.
I'd just like to add one thing. I'm not sure, have any of you received the press release or seen what the press release says from the state? I guess I'm wondering because I haven't.
I have not.
So I will say, for the public record, they created their own website for the information that they are putting out to the press. And all you have to do is it's House Bill 5.mt.gov or hb5.mt.gov. That is the state's press release. That's the information that they have put out. And I think that's it. You can just Google it. That's what I had to do. So when I heard about the press release, that's what I had to do to go actually and find the information. the state did not send me information on it. I had to go seek it once it went to the press. So anyway, if you can go do that, look at the information, if that's what they want the public to have. I would encourage the council to review that if that's what they want the public to have. But that is a state agency, like Michelle said, doing what they want to do. It's not reflective of the city council. So.
Councilmember Canopy.
Yes, thank you. I would like to know what to do with voicemails that are sent on to my phone. I did not respond to any of them, but I would like to pass them up to Mr. Markegard. If you want, I've deleted several, but I've got it from Helena, and it's been excessive amount of phone calls, which just been ignored. I don't want to seem like I don't care, but I'm about over some of what's come across, and I do want to share that with you, and I will later on, but I have not read the whole thing. I just saw it and stopped it. But I do have it, and I just want to know what we do with those.
Michelle, do you have any guidance on that?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Councilmember Canopy. Are these messages that you're receiving coming across to you in your capacity as a council member?
Yes, they are, and it was from Helena.
Yeah, so this is a really important thing, and I've touched on this before, and when we have new council members come on board after the first of the year, Kurt and I will work together to make sure that everyone also is kind of reminded of this, that continues on council, and then our new council members are aware of this as well. It is obviously a complex preservation world when we talk about communications that people receive now, because, you know, even if I had to think back to the start of my career almost 30 years ago, even email communications were pretty limited. Now people reach out by email, they reach out by text message, voicemail messages, etc. All of that should be provided for us to preserve as part of the public record when it occurs in your capacity as a city council member. So when I deal typically from a preservation standpoint with voicemail messages that are left or text messages, you can do one of two things. As to voicemails, most of the time, and it depends upon, you know, how you're preserving things, but many voicemails now occur where they provided transcription, and assuming that that's accurate and you trust the accuracy of it, you can forward that on to my office or to Kurt. And then between Kurt and I, as I said, we work to maintain those files within the city to ensure that we have a comprehensive file if we have to respond to a public records request. If it's digital format where it's not transcribed, that's fine as well. Many times in the course of my work, not just in Laurel, but many municipalities, we have to produce audio messages that are left to people. Those are usually in like VMA format. So you should be able to easily forward from your phone directly to my office or to Kurt's office, and then we can preserve those. If you run into difficulties with that, or any city council members do, let us know, because we can assist in that. But yes, those are equally important to preserve. And one of the biggest hurdles we run into from a legal standpoint when we're responding to FOIA requests, or if a litigation matter arises and we're having to respond to discovery, is that many times people are not aware that text messages and voicemails are just as equally discoverable as the emails sent directly to you as council members. So it's important to communicate only in your official capacity, preserve what is communicated to you, and then immediately forward those to my office or to Kurt's office, and we will ensure that files are kept. When I've had to work with large FOIA requests before with the city, Brittany is incredibly organized and very savvy at putting that information together. We keep all of that so that we have a clear record of things. So if you need any assistance, I'd say, you know, reach out. But yes, those are just as equally preservable and required to be preserved as direct email communications you receive. Did that answer your question, Councilmember Canopy?
Yes, it did, and thank you very much, and I'll proceed with it when we're done here. Thank you.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Did I say .com or did .gov? Okay, I just want to make sure. So yeah, it's hb5.mt.gov.
Hey, thank you, Kurt. Thank you, City Attorney Bachman. Appreciate all that information. We'll
And I apologize for not being there in person tonight. I'm in Lewistown for a hearing, so I always appreciate when council and our city administration gives me the grace of appearing telephonically.
Well, we miss your being here in person, but we're still hearing your voice and getting the message that we need to get from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? Other items? Councilmember Closey.
Thank you. Excuse me, tomorrow night at the Laurel Senior Center from 5:30 to 6:30 is going to be a presentation on aging, thinking behavior, whether it's just the natural aging process that people forget where they put their keys or whatever, or if it's a form of dementia. They did a presentation today, and they're doing one again tomorrow night from 5:30 to 6:30. And they're going to provide soup and some Hawaiian rolls to people that show up for that. And it's pretty interesting to look at the differences in the behavior between just the aging process or if somebody's suffering from dementia. And it's they're doing it this time of the year because when families get together at holiday season, they kind of watch one another and say, well, maybe that person's slipping a little bit or whatever. So that's why they're doing it this time of the year. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Councilmember Closey. On other items, we have a tree park board meeting on Thursday evening at 5:30 in this chamber. So anything else? Councilmember Canopy.
Yeah, I was with a Rotary stopped by today and want to tell us that they're doing the Christmas trees from 12 to 6 in the Ace parking lot. They're selling Christmas trees, the Rotary Club.
Very good, thank you. Go ahead.
If I could ask Councilmember Closey, is the Wreaths Across America event coming up soon? I know that's an annual event where they put out wreaths on the veterans' graves at the National Cemetery. And in the past, we had some put on the graves of the veterans in the Laurel
Yeah.
City Cemetery.
This will be the second Saturday. I think it's the 13th, 12th to 13th. I think it starts at 10 o'clock. And along those lines, this Sunday is Pearl Harbor Day. And they'll be doing a Pearl Harbor ceremony at noon at the National Cemetery. And the Laurel American Legion and VFW will be doing one at the City Cemetery at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Councilmember Closey. So any other items? Councilmember McKay.
I know. This Sunday is also Laurel's Christmas stroll. And this from 2 to 6, and this in front of the front porch, the street will be shut, and there'll be hot chocolate, s'mores, activities, lots of different things. And then of course the parade, and I believe probably also fireworks because it's Laurel. So. Amy promises adult hot chocolate.
Thank you, Councilmember McKay. Anything else? All right, attendance to the upcoming council meeting next week.
I
Yes.
might not be here. It's my daughter's 13th birthday. So
Okay.
if there's something
Well,
really important, I might not.
We
be
have
there.
priorities.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So as long as we got just about everybody gonna be here next week, any other announcements? With that, I believe we are adjourned.